Last time on Love at First Shot.
We're not that far away from each other, but I can have my concealed carry permit and she can't.
This gun is a great option for concealed carry because it's light and thin.
I feel like it's my duty to protect myself and my home.
Throughout the season of Love at First Shot, I'm going to dissect and simplify every piece of the right that guarantees the rest. I'll take on the anti-gun arguments and prepare you to do the same.
Finding the perfect concealed carry setup isn't easy, and it takes a customized approach, which I like to refer to the C's of concealed carry. Let's start with caliber.
This episode of Love at First Shot is all about training. Julie Golob will walk you through some concealed carry proficiency drills. You'll learn about NRA Carry Guard, America's most comprehensive protection for those who carry a gun, and hear from lead instructor Jeff Houston. He'll take you inside their world-class firearms training program. And I had the chance to sit down with Olympic athlete Lanny Barnes. She's a sharpshooter with a twin sister and a passion for art. We also present the next installment of our Concealed Carry Roundtable. It all begins now in this episode of Love at First Shot, presented by Smith & Wesson, with ammunition provided by Federal Premium.
When it comes to concealed carry, you want to be confident that you have enough ammunition with you. So, capacity is another C of concealed carry. Looking at this revolver here, you have a fixed capacity, meaning the cylinder only holds 5 rounds. And that can be a drawback if you're looking for more ammunition to carry with you. Now, going with a semi-auto, you have a little bit more option. This is what we call a single column or single stacked magazine, and the ammunition is stacked one on top of each other. And because you can remove this, you can also have the option of adding capacity to the end. Now, when that happens, you're going to increase the length of your grip, and that's going to make it a little more difficult to conceal, so that's something you want to keep in mind. There's also the option of double stack magazines. That means they're going to be double the width of these single column magazines, and that means you have more ammo. The downside is that's a thicker grip, and it's going to make it even more difficult to conceal, especially if you have a smaller frame. It's all a give and take. You have to decide what's best for you. And that's the name of the game. It all comes down to what you're comfortable with. Concealed carry should be a custom approach so that you can be confident and do what you need to do under pressure.
Stay tuned for the next episode of Love at First Shot, when Julie will address the third C of concealed carry, clothing. Okay, I am so excited to be here. We're in Durango, Colorado with Lanny Barnes, and not only is she an Olympian, but you're also an exceptionally talented artist. And we're gonna talk more about that in a little bit, but let's talk about your experience. So you've been through life with a twin sister, including up to the Olympics. And then of course you have this very famous moment now where your sister gave you her Olympic spot, which is amazing, and there's a whole new energy video about it.
As luck would have it, I got a really bad illness right during the trials, and it was tough sitting there in bed kind of watching your Olympic dream kind of slide away. And they announced the team, that she had made the 2014 Olympic team, and right after the announcement, she said, "Hey, Lanny, I want to go on a walk." And she looked at me and said, "Hey, I want you to go to Russia and race for me. I want you to have my spot on the 2014 Olympic team." And
every time I see it, it kind of makes me tear up a little bit, because you guys and the bond is just so amazing.
Yeah, family has always been very important to us. With Tracy, what she did for me,
at the last Olympics. You know, I have a hard time thinking about it because it makes me choke up too.
Your sister even got an award out of it because of her just Olympic spirit, right?
Yeah, she got the United Nations UNESCO Fair Play Award. And, you know, it's a rare thing to get. And I mean, she essentially gave up her dream so that I could realize mine. And how many people are willing to do that for someone else?
No.
You know, I think it's very rare.
So being here in your lovely home, looking around at incredible art, you're an exceptionally talented and passionate artist. But when did you start?
For me, it just was something I was passionate about when I was a kid. Like I was a horse girl that never had a horse. And so I draw horses all the time, you know, and I think it just evolved into something that I did that helped Tracy and I pay for college and for our Olympic career. So what I do is I draw, and Tracy and I would take it and sell my artwork on the streets, and that really helped us get through those tough financial times when you're Olympian in a pay-to-play sport. I think there's a lot of correlations between competitions and my artwork. My brain works a little differently than most. I have a photographic memory. I'm able to, say, memorize the course or the stage that we're going to shoot or things like that. And, you know, that transitions into my artwork as well. I can look at something and say, that would be great on a piece of paper, and I'll go home and I'll draw it. And, you know, I can go from memory, I can kind of recall detail of things. And I think that's one of the biggest correlations that I can draw from my competitions to my artwork.
So talk about NRA Women and the value of it and where you think, you know, it's taken the women in the shooting sports.
You know, I think NRA Women is huge. It has made such an incredible impact on the shooting industry. There's women coming out of anywhere and everywhere saying, you know, I want to be a part of this. I'm a shooter, I hunt, I enjoy guns, I want to protect myself. Growing up, Tracy and I, we thought we were the only women on the planet that hunted. We thought, well, it's a guy thing. I didn't know any other women that hunted. I didn't know any other women that shot. We thought, well, maybe there's got to be others out there, but we just never had that outlet and never were in the right situation to meet other women who shared the same passions and interests. And I think with NRA Women, it's giving women an opportunity to see other women and what they do and empower them and say, hey, this is not just something that the guys do. I can do this too, and I can have fun with it, do well at it, protect myself, and
still feel feminine, which
exactly,
I love too,
yeah.
you know? Lanny, thank you so much for having us in your beautiful home. It is always so much fun to get to connect with you. And we can't wait to see so much more from you in the coming years.
Let's face it, it's not always easy to get to the range, and especially if you're a CCW holder, you want to be able to improve those basic skills of shooting accurately, quickly, and being able to reload fast and efficiently. I have a simple 1 box of ammunition drill with 50 rounds that'll help you improve all of these skills and help you track your progress. So I have my target at 3 yards. I'm going to focus on 5 good, accurate shots in the upper portion of this target. Now we're going to move into controlled pairs. We're going to keep it at 3 yards, but we're going to work on that quick acquisition of the sights for 2 shots. And you're going to repeat that until you've shot 10 rounds. Then we'll move back to the 5-yard line. From this yard, I'm going to shoot 2 into the body, 1 into the head, and then 2 into the body, perform a reload, and repeat. And I'm going to do that from this yard line another time. Now I'm going to repeat this and do the same drill at the 7-yard line. Now we're going to move back to the 10 and finish up on accuracy. Final strength here, 5 shots into the upper head. Let's go take a look. All right, here we are at the target. The goal is to keep everything centered up nice in the chest area, keep all of them in the head, and I did that. The nice thing about this drill is it's something you can track, you can maintain, take a picture with your cell phone, note the things that you had trouble with so you can practice them next time. Remember, it only takes 1 box of ammo every week or every couple of weeks to maintain your CCW skills.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to security of free state, the right of the people to keep to bear arms shall not be infringed. I'm sorry, do we have a militia in this country? Is there a militia here? Because it still doesn't say individual.
See, she's reading the Second Amendment, and I think
As a gun owner, you're going to run into a lot of misguided people like Raven-Symoné, who act like the phrase a well-regulated militia is some sort of top-secret Second Amendment cancellation policy. I'm Lydia Longoria, and today's episode of 27 Words is one of my favorites because I've seen the militia clause trip up so many people. I mean, the first time you hear the argument, it can be pretty persuasive. Militias really aren't a thing anymore, right? So you start to doubt yourself. Maybe the Second Amendment really does only apply to musket-wielding men from 200 years ago. But just like Raven-Symoné, you'd be wrong. For one thing, let's define what that well-regulated militia the founders had in mind was, because it definitely wasn't a state-owned and operated army. They were talking about private citizens, people like you and me, whose very existence might serve as a deterrent against a violent, tyrannical government. Not to jump too far into the next episode, but that's kind of what they meant by a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. No private armed citizens, no deterrent against tyranny, no guarantee of a free state. Obviously, for that reason, the framers did not say a militia well regulated by the Congress or by the states, because a militia so regulated might not be separate enough from or free enough from the national government to preserve the security of a free state. Which brings up the second most popular argument around the phrase. What does well regulated mean anyway? I'll put it to rest. In no way is this a reference to the modern-day regulatory environment. They weren't talking about magazine bans or assault rifle bans or whatever tomorrow's gun control flavor of the month will be. No, in the founders' day, well-regulated clearly referred to training. The framers believed that armed citizens ready to form militias would be so well-trained, self-regulated, and disciplined, and would pose no threats to their fellow citizens, but would rather help to protect them from not only government overreach, but everyday threats in local communities and personal lives. So tell the next person who tries to play the militia card on you this. Those of us who choose to exercise our Second Amendment rights today, who educate ourselves about firearms, who train with them, and who carry them, we are the modern-day militia, and our rights shall not be infringed.
Beyond target shooting, competitions, CCW, there's a special type of gun owner out there, the gun enthusiast. And that person appreciates classic design, and it doesn't get any more classic than the 1911. For this Smith & Wesson product spotlight, we're at Wilshire Gun Club, and I want to share with you a Performance Center 1911. Now, this one is specifically designed for concealed carry. It features a 3-inch barrel. It also has a scandium alloy frame and a round butt, making it easier to conceal and lighter to carry. This gun also has a lot of the great features that we know and love from the 1911, the grip safety, the ambidextrous thumb safeties, and that classic single action trigger. It's also chambered in 9mm and features a lighter recoil spring, and that makes it easier to manipulate the slide when compared to other semi-automatic pistols. A stippled grip and that classic thin single stack design make it a great option for those with small hands who need to have a better grip on the gun to make it easier to reach the trigger. This Performance Center 3-inch 9mm 1911 is a classic design with modern innovations, and it's one that a gun enthusiast will appreciate. on the range with Jeff Houston, one of the masterminds behind the NRA's Carry Guard Program.
My background that kind of qualifies me to do that was Army Special Forces, so I was a Green Beret.
So you know your stuff.
I do, I do.
What things can you tell our viewer that may be helpful to get a little bit more comfortable with their firearm?
So what I want to emphasize to shooters as they're starting out is our target itself does not matter as much as people think it does, okay? What we need is something to shoot at.
Okay.
We want to think about aiming small and missing small.
Right.
So we just want to pick a point on the target to shoot at. For example, you could shoot at this number 9.
Okay.
We want to get the same point of aim every time for that consistency.
All right, let's get shooting.
Let's do it.
All right. So, 3 yards.
Yep. Let's go ahead and put our eye protection and ear protection on.
Okay.
And the range is now hot. What we want to do first is make sure that we're safely loaded up. So we're going to come into our workspace. My firearm is locked back to the rear. I'm visually inspected it. I'm going to go ahead and load up. Tap. I've indexed the magazine. I'm tapping the magazine in. Tap, tug, roll it over, muzzle's downrange in the safe direction, fingers off the trigger, and I'm going to pull back and let it slam forward. Now our firearm is loaded. Now, get a nice solid grip on the gun. Let's check our stance. We're face downrange towards our target.
Right.
Let's go ahead and go to a low ready. I'm gonna raise the firearm up, and I'm picking that aim small, miss small, that one point of aim, and then it's slack, aim, and press. I've followed through on my target. I'm preparing to take a second shot, but I'm choosing not to. My finger comes off the trigger, and then I can either scan or go back to a low ready position.
Okay.
And then I just repeat that for let's just do about 6 rounds.
All right, let's do it. So between military experience and then being an instructor and then working in protection, that led to where you are today. And now you're the lead instructor, correct?
That's right, yes ma'am. We've taken that military experience and combined with, the cumulative civilian training experience that all of us Carry Guard developers have had, and the people are getting the best mix of it all. So it's really fantastic. I'm excited.
Awesome. So there's more to CCW than just obviously hitting a target.
When you're carrying a firearm, when you're having to protect someone, the firearm is just simply one component of it. But the most important tool you have is your mindset. During the Carry Guard curriculum, we undergo a segment where we talk about situational awareness and how important it is to be aware of your surroundings, because we don't want to get in a gunfight. That is not
That's not the goal.
not the goal, Avoidance and de-escalation is number 1. But if you are situationally aware of your surroundings, you might be able to recognize a threat and then get out of there before it turns, into a gunfight. So we call that drill 1 shot on 1 dot.
Okay.
It's a great drill. It's a great way to warm up on the range and just start every range cycle that way.
What do you think people will take away the most from the program?
I think the biggest takeaways for most people are going to be, A, they really have no idea how much goes into being a responsible concealed carry holder. And then the force-on-force training that we do with airsoft guns.
Can you explain that a little bit more? Like, force-on-force sounds so a little bit intimidating,
right. So what it is, it's just we're putting you in a scenario. How are you going to respond? And they're not going to get hurt. They're not going to get shoved. They're not going to have to fight physically at all. But they have an airsoft gun, and we're just going to push them a little bit or put them in a scenario, and we want them to be able to react.
Right.
And it's not always pulling out the gun and pulling the trigger.
Sure.
Sometimes it's, finding the exit and getting out, or making sure your car doors are locked and staying in the vehicle. So we put people in situations where they're not always shooting, but they need to think, should I draw my gun? Should I not draw my gun? And that decision-making process, I think, is a big thing that people will take away on how shocking that feeling is of having to make that decision.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can sit back and say, oh, well, I would do this, or I would do that, or I would handle it this way. But I'm sure you see that it's completely different when you're in a scenario.
It really is. Yeah. And, we've put people in scenarios where they went into it thinking, okay, I would do this, this, or this, and they come out of it saying, whoa, like, I never thought about this, that, or the other.
Yeah.
And now the whole plan that they had in their head is now changing because of the experience we put them through.
That's amazing. All right, so now, we've worked hard all day. We've been working on our accuracy. We've figured out the tension and how to press the trigger. What sort of thing can you do with a friend at the range? Like a little friendly competition that incorporates some of these skills but still keeps it fun?
Ah, cool, great question. Right. It's always fun to shoot with a buddy and get a little bit head-to-head competition of sorts. One simple thing we can do right here is I'm gonna take a shot and you're gonna try to put a bullet through my bullet hole.
Okay.
And then you're gonna take a shot.
Okay.
And I'm gonna try to put my bullet through your bullet hole, and we'll just keep going, bounding kind of back and forth on it.
So it's like horse, almost.
It's kind of like horse, yes.
Well, let's go get some new targets, and we'll get going on it.
Done, let's do it.
All right, so what do we do?
So I'll start off with the first shot here. So now you just try to put a bullet hole through that.
Okay.
And then you go to another area and just take a shot for me.
Anywhere I want?
Just a couple inches away is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, anywhere you want. And then I try to shoot through that.
Oh, it's so close.
Yep.
The tension is building.
I know. And then I'll take a shot.
Ooh, going over there.
Now you put a hole in.
All right, I'm gonna run over to the other side of the target.
Ultimately.
Oh, nice.
Thank you, ma'am. And then I'll make a hole for you.
Okay.
Make a hole for me.
I think you got that one easy. All right, so I'm at slide lock, and this is a great point to either go ahead and bench your firearm if you're at an indoor range, or go ahead and put it in a case and secure it safely. But go ahead and walk us through the unload and show clear.
Sure. Of course, I want to be up in my workspace whenever possible. Fingers off the trigger, muzzles in a safe direction.
Great.
I'm going to hit that magazine release and remove this source of feed. And then I want to clear the chamber. I always do it a couple extra times for good measure. So now I'll lock the slide to the rear. I'll visually inspect the chamber and down the magazine well. And now I would just table it with the slide lock back. In this case, I'll just drop it in my holster. Good to go.
Perfect. This was so much fun. What are the next steps? Tell us about the Carry Guard program and where they can learn more.
The Carry Guard program is a fantastic new program. It's a twofold program. There's a 3-day training course that I helped develop along with a couple other fantastic guys. And then there's an insurance component too that's gonna help protect people that are out there carrying in the event that they ever have to use their firearm. So go to NRACarryGuard.com to check it out. Once you sign up, there's continued education, and there's actually online training that people can do. So they can look at videos of us NRA developers and instructors walking through a lot of the same stuff we walked through today in great detail.
Well, I have to say, thank you so much for joining us today and being on Love at First Shot.
Thanks for having me.
All right, awesome. Touching on the training aspect and how you incorporate that into your life. I mean, I train all the time because that's my job, right? So I'm very curious to hear how you incorporate that firearms training, whether it's for CCW or competition, into your daily lives.
Yeah, because you begin with a class, right? You start there, but then you have to take it home.
Right.
Right? And so what does that look like for you guys, and does it change?
I think it's about making time for the things that you know you need to. It's about prioritizing.
Right.
And as someone who works, you know, a full-time job in corporate America, it's very difficult sometimes to find that time, you know, this is my time to work on myself, to make myself better.
If you go out with your girlfriends, having it, instead of going and having a wine night, why don't we come to the range first? Then you, not only you can introduce people who've never done it, you can practice yourself, you can spend quality time with your friends, doing something different, and then you go for your wine.
The time also, I mean, it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to go to the shooting range in order to get training done.
No.
You know, I personally do a lot of dry firing. Even through my Olympic career, that's the majority of how I trained was dry firing.
What does your dry fire setup look like?
So for concealed carry, my plan is to kind of put my holster on, wear something that I would normally be doing. It's going to be practicing drawing. It's going to be practicing, you know, moving. It's going to be practicing, I mean, sitting down, drawing from different positions and things like that.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I know. For me, dry firing is everything right now, you know.
Right.
There are a lot of fun tools these days, you know, if you're in a home environment, and that's really the only place where you can get your training in.
Right. And I think it's important to remember too, if you do any sort of recreational shooting, like with us with like shooting sports, you know, if I get range time, man, I'm working on my sport. I'm trying to do that, and that's all that I spend the time doing. And so I finally, not that long ago, was like, I haven't taken my, you know, carry gun out and shot that in a while. I should do that. And I'm like, oh, I should do more of this. You know, so you really want to practice with, I mean, the gun that you're going to carry to possibly protect yourself, you really should spend time shooting and practicing with that. And then absolutely, like you said, at home, you know, I did a couple of, you know, draws, and then the whole holster came out. I'm like, all right, we're going to have to reconsider that configuration, right? So like being prepared and knowing and being comfortable and confident. I think that's the biggest thing, no matter what situation you're in, if you've trained and you're prepared for it, that's going to show if that actually comes up at some point.
And it doesn't have to be something that's so stressful. Like I feel like a lot of people are like, I need to train, I need to. It's fun, it's stressful. I know that when I was in school and I, you know, was studying for hours and hours, I'd take an hour out of my day and I'd just go shoot at the range, and I'd feel so much better. My mind would be a lot more clear. I could go back and do my task, and I would handle them, you know, a lot better. And so I think that that's something to remember too, is it's supposed to be fun as long as you're being safe, you're being responsible, have fun with it. Make it something that you enjoy to, you know, doing.
Even I, you know, when we're out at the range working really hard on a specific goal, you know, it's really easy to get so wrapped up in the training, whether it's CCW training or competition, that sometimes you just gotta have a little bit of fun. And if you bring out something, to old paint can, shoot it up, or soda cans, whatever. Incorporating that, so you always have a little bit of an ending that makes it, yeah, this is really cool, I want to do this again. Especially when you're bringing new shooters to the range, I find.
Absolutely.
You know, it's not your typical, here's the bullseye target, let's work on the grip and the stance. When you have something really fun, like paint, done in previous seasons, that they can look back on that and say, you know what, let's do that again.
Next time on Love at First Shot.
Instead of shooting, we're gonna be shopping. This is where it becomes difficult for us, but I have a few tips that will help you choose a wardrobe that will work with your concealed carry gear.
I apologize for the mess. I didn't know you were gonna get in my closet today.